the Srimad Bhagavatam establishes Krishna as the Supreme Person. In describing the personality of Krishna, Bhagavatam declares that even among the different forms of God, called as Vishnu Tattva, Krishna is the Supreme. Now this may be a little difficult to understand because people think of Krishna in terms of an incarnation of Vishnu. That is how they consider Krishna as expanding from Narayana. But actually, Krishna is not an expansion. Krishna is the original person, the original spiritual personality from the spiritual world. And everyone other than Krishna is expanding from Krishna. Now, the Bhagavatam establishes this particular fact in several places. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, there is the questions by the sages of Naimisharanya. They are asking for what purpose did Krishna appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Among the many different purposes for which Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, one of the important purposes is to display his Vrindavan pastimes. And these pastimes are very, very special because Krishna presents himself in these Vrindavan pastimes as a small cowherd boy. And even the great demigods and great saintly persons, they are not able to recognize Krishna's supreme position. The Bhagavatam declares this, Muhyanti yat suraya. Even the great demigods and the sages and saintly persons are put into illusion by Krishna. Even the Bhagavad Gita declares this, Name vidus suragana prabhavam na maharshaya. Even the great rishis and suragana, the powerful demigods, they also cannot understand the position of Krishna. At best, they can recognize Krishna as an incarnation in this world. But Krishna's personality is not just incarnation. Krishna is the Adi Purusha. This is described in the Brahma Samhita, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Buddha. And while Sutta Goswami is describing the different incarnations of Krishna, he is listing 22 incarnations and describing their extraordinary activities. All of them are as powerful as God, very powerful. But still, he differentiates Krishna from all the incarnations. Sutta Goswami says, Ete chamsha kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All the incarnations that have been described by Sutta Goswami, he says all of them are portions of the plenary portion or plenary portion of Krishna, of the original personality of Godhead. But Krishna is not an incarnation or a plenary portion like that. He says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is himself the original person. Swayam Bhagavan. Then there is a very interesting pastime, Leela, described in the 10th canto of the Bhagavad. This is a pastime involving one of Krishna's sons. Krishna had 16,108 queens. And among them, one of the queens was Jambavati, the daughter of Jambavan. So, Jambavati was married to Krishna, and that's another pastime that is also described. But Jambavati's son, by name Samba, he was a very powerful fighter. So once when there was a Swayamvara of Duryodhana's daughter by name Lakshmana, then so many princes came to participate in that Swayamvara. Swayamvara is very unique in that the father will not select a suitable boy to marry his daughter. That is the general case. In exceptional cases, the father allows his daughter to select her own match, bridegroom. That also is done generally by some test of chivalry or greatness or prowess or strength. So when Lakshmana was supposed to select her own husband, this son of Krishna, Samba, he came there to the Swayamvara ceremony. He forcibly took away Lakshmana, Duryodhana's daughter. Now the members of the Kuru dynasty, the Kauravas, they all knew that this girl, Duryodhana's daughter, did not like to marry this Samba. So, because Samba had actually forcibly taken her against her own wish, so they decided to attack Samba and arrest him. Now, Samba is a Kshatriya, so when challenged, he will not refuse the challenge. But it was unfair on the part of the Kauravas that 6 of them were all Maharathis Maharati means among the fighters, there are different grades of fighters. Ekarathi, Dasharathi, Shatarathi, Maharathi. Different grades of fighters. So Maharati is the one who can fight alone against thousands of other fighters. So Samba was a Maharati, but he was challenged by 6 other Maharathis from the Kaurava side. So actually it is unfair on the part of the Kauravas. 6 of them as Maharathis attacked Samba, who was single-handedly facing this challenge. But Samba was very, very brave. He was very brave. So he did not turn his back and run away from the challenge. He accepted the challenge, even though it was an unfair fight. Single-handedly, he actually attacked those 6 Maharathis. And they had to actually almost accept defeat when they managed to somehow break the chariot of Samba. Now when they were able to break the chariot of Samba, then they were able to actually capture him and arrest him. So Samba was arrested and Lakshmana, the daughter of Duryodhana, was arrested by the Kauravas. Narada Muni took this news because the Yadu dynasty, nobody knew what had happened to Samba. So Narada Muni took this news and described in detail how Samba was arrested by unfair fighting on the part of the Kauravas. So the Yadu dynasty, the Kshatriyas, they became very, very angry against the Kauravas, Kuru dynasty, Kshatriyas, and they decided to attack. But Balaram, he pacified all of them, the Yadus, and said that it is not good to fight like this, because he knew that due to the influence of this Kali, on the slightest provocation, people fight against each other. So he wanted to avoid unnecessary fighting. So he decided that he will personally go to the Kurus and try to work out an amicable settlement without fighting. So he took with him several Brahmanas and several learned scholars and so many saintly persons, and with them in front, he actually approached the Kurus. He went to their kingdom. So as soon as the Kurus, headed by Bhishma and Dhritarashtra, all of them heard that Balaram is coming along with so many saintly persons, then they became very happy, and they also went to the entrance of their city, Hastinapura, with so many nice arrangements for receiving Balaram very respectfully. So there was a very big reception for Balaram, and Balaram was very pleased with this reception by the Kuru dynasty members, the Kauravas. So Balaram decided that he is going to now settle the matter very amicably. So after Balaram was received very nicely, According to their respective positions, they welcomed Lord Balaram by giving him charity, nice cows, arghya, and assortment of items such as honey, butter, flowers, sandalwood bulb. All of them knew the exalted position of Lord Balaram as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They bowed their heads in respect before Lord Balaram. They all exchanged words of reception, and when such formalities were finished, Lord Balaram, in a great voice, very patiently submitted before them the following words for their consideration. So Balaram began to speak to the Kauravas. My dear friends, this time I have come to you as a messenger with the order of the all-powerful King Ugrasena. The Yadu dynasty, even though Krishna is the leader, Krishna is the head, Krishna is the supreme, Yadu dynasty personality, but still Krishna installed Ugrasena after Kamsa's death. Krishna only killed Kamsa. But he, instead of occupying the throne himself, he installed Ugrasena as the king of the Yadu dynasty. So therefore, Balaram is telling, I am representing all-powerful King Ugrasena from the Yadu side. Please therefore hear the order with attention and with great care. Without wasting a single moment, please try to carry on the order. King Ugrasena knows very well that you warriors of the Kuru dynasty improperly fought with the pious Samba was alone, and that with great difficulty and unrighteous tactics you have arrested him. So the arrest of Samba was not exactly done in a proper manner. We have all heard this news, but we are not very much agitated because we are most intimately related to one another. I do not think we should disturb our good relationship. We should continue our friendship without any unnecessary fighting. This is what Balaram's idea is, that he's come here to avoid unnecessary fighting. So he's telling, please therefore immediately release Samba and bring him along with his wife, Lakshmana. See, the very culture is, if once a girl is touched by a particular boy, then the girl cannot be married to anybody else. She has to be married only to that boy. So even on the basis of that particular system, now this daughter of Duryodhana actually is already to be accepted as the wife of Samba, because Samba has kidnapped her. So therefore, Balaram very nicely told the Kurus that release Samba and bring him along with his wife Lakshmana. When Lord Balaram spoke in a commanding tone full of heroic ascension, supremacy, and chivalry, the leaders of the Kuru dynasty did not appreciate his statements. Rather, all of them became very agitated, and with great anger they said, these words are very astonishing, but quite befitting the age of Kali. Now Balaram is trying to avoid a battle, a war, fighting, but they are instead accusing Balaram that your actions are befitting the age of Kali. How could Balaram speak so vituperately? The language and tone used by Balaram are simply abusive. And due to the influence of this age, it appears that the shoes befitting the feet want to rise to the top of the head, where the helmet is worn. We are connected with the Yadu dynasty by marriage, and because of this, they have been given the chance to come live with us, dine with us, sleep with us. Now they are taking advantage of these privileges. They had practically no position before we gave them a portion of our kingdom to rule. And now they are trying to command us. We have allowed the Yadu dynasty to use the royal insignias like the whisk, fan, conch shell, white umbrella, crown, royal throne, sitting place, and bedstead, along with everything else befitting the royal order. They should not have used such royal paraphernalia in our presence, but we did not check them due to our family relationship. Now they have the audacity to order us to do things. Well, this is their impudence. Enough of their impudence. We cannot allow them to do all these things. We shall not allow them to use these royal insignias. It is best we take away all these things. And the Kurus are speaking in such a insulting manner. They are telling it is improper to feed a snake with milk, since such merciful activities simply increases the snake's venom or poison. The Yadu dynasty is now trying to go against those who have fed them so nicely. Their flourishing condition is due to our gifts and merciful behavior. Still, they are so shameless that they are trying to order us. How regrettable are these activities? No one in the world can enjoy anything if members of the Kuru dynasty, like Bhishma, Drona, Arjuna, do not allow them to do so. Exactly as a lamb cannot enjoy life in the presence of a lion, without our desire, it is not even possible for the demigods in heaven to find enjoyment in life. What to speak of ordinary human beings? So like this, the Kurus insulted Balaram with so many harsh words. Balaram patiently heard their insulting words and simply observed their uncivil behavior. And from his appearance it was clear that he was burning with anger and thinking of retaliating with great vengeance. His bodily features became so much agitated that it was difficult for anyone to look at him. He laughed very loudly and said, Balaram is very angry against the Kurus. It is true that if a man becomes too much puffed up because of his family, opulence, beauty, material advancement, he no longer wants a peaceful life, but becomes belligerent towards all others. It is useless to give such a person good instruction for gentle behavior. So Balaram came as a gentleman and he wanted to settle the matter amicably. But instead, the Kurus are acting so much with anger and so much insult. They are hurled against Balaram. So Balaram is thinking that it is useless to give them good instruction. So Balaram is now speaking something which will help us understand what is the position of Krishna. That is why this particular exchange of words is very important. Balaram is telling that even the king of heaven, Indra, abides by the order of the Yadu dynasty. And you consider King Ugrasena to be the leader of the small phalanx. Your conclusion is wonderful. You do not care for King Ugrasena, whose order is obeyed even by King Indra. Consider the exalted position of the Yadu dynasty. They have forcibly used both the assembly house and the Parijata tree of the heavenly planets. And still you think they cannot order you? Don't you even think that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can sit on the royal exalted throne and command everyone? Actually, Lord Krishna is the Lord of the whole creation. And he is the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. What is Krishna's position? Krishna is not a member of the Yadu dynasty, as people think, which is enjoying a small portion of the whole world as their kingdom. Because the Kurus were ruling the whole world as the emperors, all other kings are supposed to be subordinate to them. So they are counting Krishna as belonging to the Yadu dynasty as subordinate to them. They are forgetting Krishna is actually the Lord of the whole creation. He is the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. The dust of Krishna's lotus feet is worshipped by all the great demigods. The Ganges water inundates the whole world, and since it emanates from his lotus feet, its banks have turned into great places of pilgrimage. If you go to Kashi, Varanasi, then all along the bank of the Ganga, which flows through this great holy place, every bathing ghat is actually a very important place of pilgrimage for people in general. Just because it happens to be the bank of the river Ganga, that's all, nothing else. So there are so many holy places along the bank of the river Ganga just because the water of the Ganga washes the lotus feet of Krishna. The principal deities of all planets engage in Krishna's service. There are 33 crore demigods. All of them engage in Krishna's service. And they consider themselves most fortunate to take the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna on their helmets. Great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even the goddess of fortune, and I means here Balaram, are simply plenary parts of his spiritual identity. So this establishes what is the position of Krishna. Even Lakshmi Devi is simply a part of Krishna. Balaram himself is a part of Krishna. So, this particular statement by Balaram actually establishes Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. And everyone else is actually a part of Krishna. Even though the Vishnu Tattva, the personalities of Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, Balaram, all of them are described as plenary parts. Plenary part means even though they are part of Krishna, they have equal power as Krishna. Because they are expansions of his personality. Krishna has got two kinds of expansions. Expansions of his person and expansions of his energy. So Krishna the person and Krishna has his energies. So the expansions of this person are all personalities of Godhead. They are called Vishnu Tattva. They have equal power as Krishna. And the expansions of his energy are called separated expansions. So personal expansions and separated expansions. The separated expansions are limited by power. Separate expansions don't have as much power as Krishna. So in the separated expansions also there are categories, but essentially the separated expansions don't have as much power as Krishna. But the personal expansions of Krishna have as much power as Krishna, but still they are part of Krishna. They are all parts of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme whole. He is the complete whole. And everyone else is his part, Amsha. So, this particular confidential fact is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Vyasadeva says that Krishna is the complete whole and the complete supreme person, that means everyone else, including the personalities of Godhead, they are all parts of Krishna. And they act according to his will. Even Balaram is serving Krishna. He accepts a special form called the form of Shesha, Ananta Shesha. So in his form as Ananta Shesha, he is exclusively serving Krishna. Ananta Shesha serves Krishna by becoming Krishna's throne, Krishna's bed, Krishna's footwear. So like that, Ananta Shesha is serving Krishna. So therefore, Krishna is served even by his plenary portions, even by the personalities of God. So that is the unique position of Krishna. He is served by everyone. Therefore, everyone is his servant, without exception. Everyone is his servant. That Krishna is whom we have to worship. So this has to be carefully understood. This is explained in the confidential portions of the Vedic scriptures, but especially explained in the Bhagavatam. So this incident in the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, is explaining when Balaram is declaring what is the position of Krishna. The Kurus had forgotten what is Krishna's position. It is Krishna only who has enthroned Ugrasena. So when Ugrasena makes a statement, it is actually Krishna who is making the statement, not Ugrasena. Actually, who is leading the Yadu dynasty is Krishna. It's Krishna who fights on behalf of the Yadus when required. When Jarasandha attacked Mathura, Ugrasena was the king, but Krishna and Balaram fought against Jarasandha and completely finished off so many divisions of his army. So, it is Krishna only who is ordering, and the Kurus have forgotten this. So, Balaram is reminding them that it is actually the order of Krishna, but you better return some. But still, just in case they have not understood, what did Balaram do? Balaram, he took his plow and started separating Hastinapura, the city of Hastinapura, from the entire earth. And he wanted to drag that city towards the flowing waters of the river Ganga and actually cast this city into the river. Drown the entire city itself with all the inhabitants, all these big Maharathis and their followers and their citizens into the river Ganga. So when the members of the Kuru dynasty saw that their entire city is now shaking and all the citizens began to cry out in anxiety, what's happening? It is more than just like an earthquake. So then immediately the Gurus, they brought Samba and Duryodhana's daughter Lakshmana, and immediately they came, placed them in front of Balaram, and began to beg pardon from Balaram, and they offered prayers to Lord Balaram, realizing who is Balaram. So then the matter was settled very nicely, as Balaram wanted. But this pastime, actually, Balaram is helping us understand what is the position of Krishna, even in relationship with Balaram. Even in relationship with Lakshmi. That Lakshmi is also a part of Krishna. Sometimes people think Shakti is greater than the personality of God. So this confusion exists sometimes because Shakti, or the power, energy, when exhibited, especially in this material world, Durga Devi, when she exhibits her power, then everyone becomes very much afraid of her display of power. But actually, ultimately, power belongs to the person, Krishna, and his power is greater than any display of anybody, however powerful they may be, including the display of energy itself. That's under the control of Krishna. Energy is always under the control of Krishna. So that is demonstrated in this pastime by Balaram, how Balaram wanted to take the whole city of Hastinapura and actually cast it away in the river Ganga. So therefore, Balaram himself admits that on the order of Krishna, you better return Samba. So then the Gurus had to oblige immediately without even giving a second thought. So this is how the Bhagavatam describes Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the Supreme Person. And everyone else is his servant or his part or his portion, Amsha. And therefore, only Krishna is worshipable. Only Krishna is worshipable. Nobody else is actually worshipable. If at all anybody else is worshipped, it is because of their specific relationship with Krishna. In relationship with Krishna, Krishna's parts are also worshipable. But if you forget Krishna, or if you mistakenly think somebody as independently powerful, separate from Krishna, then that's a mistake. That's a big mistake. And that will lead to havoc. Just like the Gurus were thinking in terms of Krishna being powerful only because they had allowed the Yadus to enjoy a portion of their own kingdom. So they mistakenly thought Krishna to be somebody subordinate, but actually they realized what is Krishna's position. And Balaram himself, without even bringing Krishna, he was about to completely destroy the city of Hastinapura with all these Maharajas. So therefore, the statement of the Bhagavatam, simply worship Krishna, simply chant his name, simply remember him, simply think of him, become his devotee. That's what Krishna says. Mam ekam sharanam braja. When Krishna says, Mam ekam, me alone, that refers to specifically the personality of Krishna only. It doesn't refer to anybody else. And he says, become my devotee. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Become my devotee. So specifically, the Bhagavad Gita also describes this most confidential knowledge. Sarva bhushyatamam bhuyaha shuname paramam vacha. Sarva bhushyatamam. Bhushyatamam is the most confidential. And among all confidential knowledge, the most confidential knowledge is being given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Become my devotee. So become my devotee. Surrender to me alone. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Somebody may say there are so many personalities of Godhead apart from Krishna. Rama, Narasimha, Varama. So many personalities are great personalities. Krishna says, no, Mam ekam, me alone, and nobody else. So this is very, very confidential knowledge. Sarva bhushyatam. Paramam vajaha, the supreme instruction, because Krishna has given so many instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. But among them, the supreme instruction is surrender to Krishna alone and nobody else. So this particular most confidential knowledge, most confidential instruction of Krishna is elaborately explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In so many places, this is established in the Bhagavatam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Chaitanya Charitamrita just declares Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arsava Vritti. Krishna is the only Ishvara. Brahma Samhita declares Ishvaraha Parama Krishna. Krishna is the Parama Ishvara, Supreme Ishvara. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Jami. Brahma declares Govinda is the Adi Purusha. Purusha means God, the Supreme Lord. But even among the Purushas, because Vishnu is also Purusha, Rama is also Purusha. So among them, Krishna is the Supreme, Adi Purusha, is the original person, the ultimate source. Janma Yasya Rama. That's the declaration of the Bhagavad. Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, Krishna is Janma Yasya Rama. So this confidential knowledge is explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the followers of Chaitanya, especially Srila Prabhupada, has declared to the whole world that simply you worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. In so many ways, Prabhupada presented Krishna as the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Person. Very nicely Prabhupada has explained in all these books, all the purports. So if you carefully study, then we save time. It's not that you're going to discover something different if you do research. Even if you do research, who is the Supreme Person, you'll come to the same conclusion, but just to save time. Because especially in this Kali Yuga, we have no time to do this kind of research. So to save time, Prabhupada simply presents Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You simply chant his name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let's now chant Hare Krishna 108 times. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All together.